Earlier we have discussed about one-to-many associations, sorry, one-to-one associations. Now the next association that we are going to discuss is one-to-many association. One-to-many association. Okay. Currently we are discussing only unidirectional relations. Later on we will see one of the bidirectional relations, but the same thing will be there even for bidirectional relations also. Okay. One-to-one relation, as we discussed earlier, can be either unidirectional or even bidirectional. Either unidirectional or bidirectional, it can be achieved through either a shared primary key or even either using a foreign key. Okay, and bidirectional also we can achieve both the ways, either using shared primary key or using a foreign key. Okay, this one-to-many mapping. Okay, that we'll discuss. Okay, in general, this one-to-many mapping will be used. Okay, if an entity is associated with multiple children or multiple child objects. Let's consider like a course. A course has a list of subjects. Okay, a course has a list of subjects. Let's consider like if it is M.Tech Bioinformatics. M.Tech Bioinformatics has 10 or 15 subjects. In the same way, MSc Physics has 5 or 6 subjects. In the same way, MSc Chemistry will have 5 or 6 subjects. So, the relationship between the course and subjects is one-to-many relation. Okay, it's a one-to-many relation. So, how we can maintain that kind of one-to-many relations? Let's take the same example, person and address. Let's consider like in this case we have one person has multiple addresses, like one current address, one permanent address, okay, one office address, like this. Let's consider the business in that context that a person can have multiple addresses. So we'll discuss one person can have multiple addresses. We'll discuss one-to-many relation in the context of person and address by assuming that one person may have multiple addresses. Okay. Now, the first thing that we need to do is, in the POSIX object level, the person is there with the person information ID, name and age. Address is there with the address information, street name, door number, city and state, and we need to relate these two objects. If we want to relate these two objects, either person information should be there with the address or information should be there with the person. Okay. So now I am associating multiple addresses to the same person. Now what I will do is, if I want to represent this multiplicity, if I want to represent multiple objects together at one place, in Java in general we use collections. So let me use a collection set. Set of addresses okay, and let me import the set. It is imported. Let me generate setters and getters for the set. Okay. Now a person has a set of addresses. Person has a set of addresses. Now if we are using a set means what is the purpose of a set? What is the purpose of a set? Huh? Get out of the class. Get out of the class first. Is type safety the use of the set? That's what I told. That's what you learned. You told that just 2 days back you have learned collections. That's what the collections that you have learned? Then what is the question that I have asked? What is the importance of set? What is the use of set? Then what do you have answered? Type safety. Is that the way you learn? Set will eliminate the duplicates. On what basis set will eliminate the duplicates means? On the particular class, we have equals and hash code method. Based on the equals and hash code method, it will eliminate the duplicates. Okay? Let me override equals and hash code method for the address class. Understood? Set will eliminate the duplicates based on equals and hash code methods. Okay? Let me override equals and hash code methods. What are all the attributes? Treat him. The next one is door number. Since these are strings directly, I am adding them to the hash code. City, state, pin code. Since pin code is integer, we need to first convert it to a string and then convert it to the hash code. So, how I can convert integer into a string? How we can convert integer into a string? Just plus as you tell. How we can convert integer into a string? Is it the typecasting that we use to convert integer into a string? What is typecasting? Is it the typecasting? What are you learning then? What are you doing the whole day? Don't you know that your parents are working very hard to send 3,000 and 4,000 to you? Just to convert an integer or any integer value to a string, we use integer dot toString of the value. Okay, sorry, I'm overriding the hash code value. Let me the hash code value return type is int. Just I'll return the hash value. Okay. Now I have overridden the hash code method. Let me override even equals method also. Just I'm typecasting this. This is what typecasting. Converting one form of object to another form. Conversion of integer to string or string to integer. So typecasting. This then I'm equating all the values. Next one is door number. So now we included all the values in the equals and hash code method. Let me override even toString method also. Just because when I convert integer into a string, when I convert a object into a string format, it will print in a specific format rather than class name where there is a hexadecimal representation. So okay, now let me override even the toString method in person also. ID, name, age, and address it. Yes, I am overriding toString method just for informational purpose, like to display in a specific format, to display the output in a specific format. That's it. There is no other use of toString method. Okay, there is no other use of toString method other than I want to display in system.println in the console in a specific format. Okay, currently in this application. Other than that, I don't have any use of toString method. Okay, now person has a set of addresses. That means one person can have multiple addresses. Okay, if one person can have multiple addresses, how do we establish that relation in the database side? And how do we establish that relation in the, how do we map that in the Hibernate side? Okay, those are the two things. In the POJO object side, what, how we have related means, how we have related person and address means, either person information should be there with the address or address information should be there with the person. Now, do we have address information with person or person information with address? See, listen to the question, man, first. Answer it perfectly. Does the person information is there with the is the person information there with the person? Is the person information there with the address, or is the address information there with the person now? Address information is there with the person. Address is associated with the person. Now, let's see. Let's consider that person has ID, name, age. Okay, and the ID value is 10, A, 25. B, 27. Okay, these are the person records. Let's consider like there are 3 addresses. Address ID, street, door number, 100, X, 1 bar 2, 200, 300, it's Y and Z. 1 bar 2, 2 bar 3, and 3 bar 4. Now these are 2 different tables. This is the person table and this is the address table. Okay, this is the person table and the corresponding fields. This is the address table and the corresponding fields. This is the ID of the address and this is the ID of the person. Now, if I want to establish a relation in such a way that, okay, a person should have multiple addresses. If I want to establish a relation in such a way that a person should have multiple addresses, okay, then either in the table level, whether the person information should be there with the address or address information should be there with the person. Understood my question? See, here these 2 are independent tables. Then I want to add a new column which establishes a relation between person and address, and the relation should be in such a way that one person can have multiple addresses. If I want to add such column, where do you add that column? Either in the person or in the address? In the address. Just because if I want to establish a relation in such a way that a person should have multiple addresses. A person should have multiple addresses. If I establish that relation here, but in this case, arrow can have only one column. So we can at max give only one address here. But if I establish the same relationship here, in the address side, in the child side, okay, then we can give any number of associations. 10, 20. So the same person is related or associated to multiple addresses, 2 addresses. Okay, this is a kind of one-to-many relation. This is one of the approaches to achieve one-to-many relation. Okay, now let me create this table structure and let me add a column in the address table with the name add person ID, and let me associate that in the Hibernate. Okay, the next thing that we at the POJO class level we have associated in such a way that a person has a set of addresses. Now, is that possible that a person can have a duplicate address? If a person has a set of addresses, is there any possibility that a person can have duplicate addresses enrolled? No, it's not possible, just because it is a set, and we have overridden equals and hash code method with all the properties. So there is no chance a person can have duplicate properties, duplicate address with duplicate properties. Now, in the database level side, if you see the database columns, we have HC1 address, which has address ID, state, street, door number, pin code, city and state. HC1 person, which has person ID, name and age. Okay, so these two are independent tables. Right now they are not at all related. Let me give some relation between these two tables. Now, as we told, as per our discussion, we'll add a column in the address side so that we can maintain one-to-many relationship between person and address. Let me add a column, add. Address underscore person underscore ID. Okay, person underscore ID is the address table. What's the data type of the ID? It is int. So I have added a new column. Okay, now let me add a constraint. Okay, I'll add a foreign key constraint so that the relationship between this column of address table, address person ID of this table and person table will be a foreign key relation, so that we can ensure that the ID that doesn't exist in person will not come here. Understood? We need to ensure that the ID that doesn't exist in person should not be a add person ID. To ensure that, I will add a foreign key relation. Understood? Why should I add a foreign key relation? Means to ensure that a person that doesn't exist in the person table should not have an address. Okay? To ensure that, I will add a foreign key. You have to add a foreign key. Just go for constraint. Add foreign key. Okay? FK underscore person. It is a foreign key to the person table. Okay? Then what are the column names? Add person ID. On which table we need to make it a foreign key? It's underscore person. And on which column we need to make it? Person underscore ID. Okay? So ADD underscore person underscore ID is a foreign key which is referring to person underscore ID column of HC underscore person table. Understood? So I have applied a foreign key. This is what we need to do on the database level. On the Java level, we have maintained that a person can have a set of addresses. On the database level, we in the address table we have added an associating column. Okay, a foreign key column, so that the foreign key column will have a foreign key constraint to the person table. Now this is the configuration that we need to do in the database level. And the next thing in the Hibernate level, what we need to do, how we can configure a one-to-many associations in Hibernate. Okay, in Hibernate HBM file, in the HBM file, from the one side, that means from the parent side, okay, we'll write a tag named set. We'll write a tag name set. Set name equal to the set tag can be used to establish either one-to-many relation or many-to-many relation. But we'll discuss this set in the context of one-to-many relation. Set tag with name equal to what is the name of the attribute in the person class that represents the address? Address set. So we'll use the same. Set name equal to address set. Okay, and we should give a key tag. In the key tag, okay, in the key tag, we should give the column in the address table which represents the primary key of person. The key tag is used to represent the foreign key column. What is the name of the foreign key column that we have given here? ADD underscore person underscore ID. Okay. Even we are configuring it in person HVM file. The key column here in the set tag will represent the foreign key column. So, what is the column in the address? What is the column in the address which represents the person? Understood? The key column specifies the foreign key column. The foreign key column in the address which represents the person. Okay? Set name equal to address set, and once we have given the association column, okay, we'll establish a one-to-many relationship. A one-to-many relationship on a class address. A one-to-many relationship on the class address. Okay. Now we are establishing a one-to-many relationship on the class address. Okay. This is what the basic thing that we need to do. Okay. Now let me create a person and address, and let me add person to the address. Sorry, address to the person, and then let me save the person. Let's see what we do. Already person is created. Now let me create two address objects. ID will be auto generated. You should not set. Street name, door number, city, state, pin code. Pin code is a string. Pin code is integer, so yes, we have given pin code. Now in the same way, we'll create another address. We'll create another address. Address 2. This I'm copying and pasting so that it is the same information. Now I have two addresses. Let me create a set. And let me add addresses to the address set. First address 1 and then the address 2. Now there are two address objects. I have added address objects to the set, and I have created the person object, and I have set the name and age. Let me set the addresses. Understood? Now how I am relating person to the address means by setting the address values to the person. By setting the address values to the person, I am establishing relation between person and address. Understood? Okay? So, now let me save the person information. Okay? Now, let me see if whether there are any records here. Yes, there are records. So, let me remove them. And even person, let me remove them. So that we can discuss fresh. Okay? Now, let me execute this application and see what happens. Let me execute this application and see what happens. What is this link? Object references as an unsaved and transient instance. Save the transient instance before flushing. What is the transient instance? Address. Why it is giving this exception and when this exception will be occurred? Did you read the description of the exception? Okay? This is the exception and this is the description. Read the exception and the description and tell me when this exception will occur. Child object in transient state. What is the transient state?
We are not saving the.
If you don't save an object, is it a transient state?
No, we are trying to save the parent object.
If you try to save the parent object,
they always objects.
see. If you tell something, tell it completely. You are telling that if you try to save the parent object, then it will be a transient object exception. It's not like that. If you try to save the parent object and the associated child object is in a transient state, then transient object exception will be arised. So, what is a transient state means? Before getting associated with a session, any object, any POSIX object will be there in the transient state. When we associate a POSIX object with the session, then it will come to the persistent state. So, when we are trying to persist the person object, then we are bringing the person object to the persistent state. We are bringing the person object to the persistent state. Okay? And if we are bringing a person object to the persistent state, Hibernate will expect that even the associated objects are also there in the persistent state. But the associated address objects are not associated with the session. Then, how I can overcome this? Using cascade. There are two options. Either first save the address, then associated address with the person, or use a cascade options and tell Hibernate so that whenever I try to save the person, first save the addresses, then save the person. Either we can do that or we can tell Hibernate to do that. Let me tell Hibernate to do that by using a cascade option in the set tag. Okay, so let me execute the same application again. Need to give a space. Now what it is doing? First it is getting the maximum of person and address just for sequence generation to get the next incrementation. Okay, leave about that, we don't have that much importance for that. Now what it is doing? First it is inserting the record into person, and again it is inserting the record into address, and again it is updating the address with the person details. Understood what it is doing? The save method for a association, okay, or for a one-to-many association, first the parent record will be inserted and the child record will be inserted, and then the parent information will be updated with the child. Understood? So where address are equal to something, where address are equal to something, and we are updating the add person ID. We are updating the association column, not we Hibernate. Hibernate is updating the association column with the person ID. Understood? First, individually person is created, individually address is created, and then in the third step, address will be associated to person with association column, so that the person ID will go to the association column. This is how it happens in case of one-to-many association. Understood? Understood or not? Understood? Just if you want, you can. Otherwise, you can refer to the videos uploaded and note on the examples. Okay, it's not that much tough task now. But make it a note, like whenever we try to persist the parent object using association with associated children, then we should keep the cascade, and when we keep the cascade, first the parent will be inserted, okay, and then the children will be inserted, and then the association column of the child will be updated with the parent information. That are the sequence of steps will happen. Okay, first the parent will be inserted, and the child record will be inserted, and the association column of the child record will be updated with the parent ID. Okay, that's what it will happen. That's how it will happen. Okay, in case of one-to-many associations. Now, in the one-to-many association, let me delete first from the address. And then from person. Now, just understood, right, how one-to-many relation will be established? Okay. Now, let me see how the one-to-many relation will be there in case of fetching. Let's consider, like, I'll try to load the information. Oh, I have deleted them, right? Let me insert the information. So the records will exist, and then let me try to load the information. Okay, I'm loading the person class, and let me save it into some temporary reference. Person P2 equal to, just I'm loading them, and just I'm saving I'm executing system.out.println of P2. Okay, execute the application. Okay, it's fetching the information. 1 Rajesh 25. This is the address. These are the two addresses that we have. Okay, understood? When the When exactly this is executed? When exactly this query is executed? In this case, when the query is executed in this case, at the 49th statement or the 50th statement? Are you sure? Then what is the concept of load? Will it execute the queries? Will load execute the, or will load trigger the database until we execute non-primary key getter method? No. Then why did you tell that it is 49th line? Understood my point? Understood my question? First of all? Then when exactly these queries are executed? Because of which statements the queries are executed? Is it because of 49th statement or will it be because of 50th statement? Understood my question? Then tell the answer. In the 50th statement, just I am printing system.out.println of P2. Then why it should execute the queries?
The load trigger is executed after negating the action.
Is that the case? See, being a student of Vimla English Medium School, is that the English that you are speaking? Will it be the case? Just tell once again. Speak out once again. Whatever your assumption is, just speak out. I will correct it. Speak out, man. You told that at 50th statement, the queries are, because of 50th statement, the queries are being executed. Why do you think that at the 50th statement, the queries will be executed by Hibernate? That is what my question. Then that doesn't really mean that, or that is not at all related to load. That is not at all related to load. My question is, at the 50th statement, you told that queries are being executed. Why the queries are being executed at the 50th statement? Why queries are being generated, or why the queries are being triggered by Hibernate at the 50th statement? That's what my question is. When we typecast the information,
and we are using that reference in that
system.out.println. I'm using the reference in system.out.println. Okay? If I am using the reference in system.out.println, okay, what will happen? See, when I execute the non-primary key getter method, understood? When I execute non-primary key getter method, then only the information will be loaded from the database. But what I am doing, I am putting system.out.println of P2. Here I am executing non-primary key getter method? No. Then how it will be executed? How the queries are triggered? Understood my point? Load method will trigger the queries, or when we load the POSA object, the queries will hit the database, or Hibernate will hit the database only when we execute non-primary key getter method. But we are just printing system.out.println of P2. But from where these queries are triggered? How these queries are triggered? What's new? From where these queries are triggered? See, what happens if we keep a object reference in system.out.println? What happens if a object reference is kept in a system.out.println? It will print the content. In order to print the content, which method is executed? Huh? In order to print the content of the object, which method is executed? In order to print the content of the object in the console, which method is being executed by system.out.println? Understood my point? Which method is being executed by system.out.println to print the content of that object? ToString method. Okay. Now, if I put the object reference in system.out.println, the corresponding object's ToString method is being executed. Okay. So, what is the object here? It's a person object. Now, the person class ToString method is being executed. In the person class ToString method, are we referring the object? Are we referring the object, or are we using the associated object? Yes or no? Yes. Since we are using the associated object in the ToString method, okay, then it will load that information from the database. When we use the associated object, then the information will be loaded, either directly or indirectly, whatever the mean it might be. When we use the associated object, then Hibernate will trigger a query to the database and will load the associated information. Understood? Understood how it will be? Understood how the queries are being triggered because of system.out.println here? Understood everybody? Now, what I am doing is, I am executing clear on the address. Understood what I have done? I am loading the address set and I am clearing. That means I am removing all the addresses for the person. Okay? Let us see, will it be permanently reflected in the database or not? Let us see, will it be permanently reflected in the database or not? Okay? What it is doing? What it is doing? What it is doing? What are the queries being executed here? First the selector are being executed and then the address is updated so that the person ID will be null. Why it is making the person ID as null? Sorry, why it is making the address person ID? That means the association column as null. Why it is making the association column as null? Just because we have cleared the addresses. If we have cleared the addresses from the person means there is no relation with the person and address. Understood my point? If we are clearing the addresses from the person, then there is no relation between person and address. If there is no relation between person and address, this column value should be null. Understood? Understood or not? See here, in this case, the address is related to person with this column. Now what I am doing is I am clearing the relation between person and address. If I am clearing the relation between person and address, this column will be nulls. So in this way there is no relation between address and person. In this way there is no relation between address and person. So this is the column that establishes the relation between address and person. So how come we know there is a relation between address and person means? Because of this column. If you are clearing the address information from person, what happens? The association will be broken. How Hibernate will break the association means Hibernate will make this column as null. So then there will not be any association between address and person. Now let us see. Person is there, address is there, but there is no relation between address and person. Understood? Now, when I remove address information from person, is the address deleted? Is the address record deleted from here, from this table? See, there is a person and there is an address, and when I remove the association between the person and address, okay, is the association broken or is the child record deleted? Association is broken, the child record is not deleted. Now, let me make it again 1, so that there exists a relation between person and address. Is it 10? See, here in the database it is 1 only, no? The database, what is the person ID? It's 1 only. So, just we'll make it 1. So now there is a relation between person and address. Let me make it again with, now here when we remove the association between the person and address. So when I am removing the address object association from the person, okay, the relation or the association column is becoming null, but the child object or the child associated object are not removed. Okay, now let me make just all, the cascade option as all, and execute the same application. Shekhar, please see here. Let me execute the same application by making cascade equal to all. Now, in this case also, even the cascade is all for all the database operations, even it is behaving the same. See, address is becoming null, person exists, and even address exists. Person exists, and even address exists. But the relationship between the relation column between the person and address is made null. Let me make it again to 1, so that there is a relation between person and address. Okay, now there is a relationship between person and address. Again, let me go back. So even the cascade option is all, then also the association column is made as null, but the child object is not deleted from the database table. Okay, now let me use the cascade level, which is all, delete, orphan. Okay, let us see what it will do. Okay, let me do the same thing again. What it is doing? What are the database operations performed here? First person ID, the associated address person ID is made as null. The associated column, the association column in the address table will be made null, and then these two objects will be deleted from these two address records will be deleted permanently from the database. Understood? Now address records are deleted. Okay, if the business requirement is in that way, like when I remove the association between the person and address, if we want to delete the addresses, then what is the cascade option that we will go? All, delete, orphan. Then if the interviewer asks you a question, what is the difference between all and all, delete, orphan? What do you tell? See, don't convert Telugu into English. Speak English as English. If you convert Telugu into English, what happens? Just you will misplace the words. Don't try that. The worst thing in communication is comparing one language with another language. We should not do that at all. We should learn English as English and speak English as English. Don't convert your Telugu sentences into English. Speak English as English sentences only. Don't try to convert that. Try it in your mind itself. What you are doing is, in your mind you are keeping Telugu language, while speaking you are converting it into English. But it's not the way. In the mind also it should be English, and while speaking also it should be English. Whatever the language that you speak. In mind, if you keep Hindi and if you speak Telugu, then what happens? It will be the same.
Cascade option is not. If you remove the association between the two tables, the chain objects are not different. Cascade option is already done. If you remove the association between two tables, the chain objects also in the database.
In the database. Okay? Just one correction is, if you remove the association between the POJ objects, we are not directly associating or deassociating the database tables here. Here we are interacting only with the POJ objects. If you remove the association between the parent and child object, then the corresponding child rows in the database will be deleted. If it is all delete orphan. If it is just all, if we remove the association between the parent and child POJ objects, the corresponding association columns will be made as null, but the records will not be deleted. Understood? Based on the business requirement, let's consider person is there, address is there. If we remove the association between person and address, if you want to remove that address, then we use all digit orphan. If the business is in such a way that if we remove the association between person and address, the address should exist, then we use all based on the cascade types. Understood? That's what all delete orphan is. Now, whenever we remove the child object from the parent, then the child object is said to be an orphan object. All of you know what is the meaning of orphan? No, right? Okay? Whenever a child object is deassociated or removed from the parent object, then the child object, the deassociated child object is said to be an orphan object. Whether to remove the orphan records permanently from the database or not will be specified by this cascade option, delete orphan, all delete orphan. If you tell that yes, the deassociated child objects or the deassociated child records should be removed, then we'll go for all delete orphan. If the deassociated child objects or the deassociated child records should exist, but just the association should be broken, then we go for all. Understood? That's how the associations will work. And to achieve one-to-many association, there are two approaches. Like we use shared primary key and foreign key in case of one-to-one association. To achieve one-to-many association also we have two approaches. Okay? One approach is using a foreign key column. Foreign key column on the child cell. The second approach, the first approach is of achieving one-to-many is using a foreign key column on a child cell. Using a foreign key column on a child table. Okay? The second approach to achieve this one-to-many relation is using a association table. Using a additional association table. Using a additional association table. Okay? Then how this additional association table will be? Okay? how we can make use of that? Means rather than giving the person information, the address, or address information the person, rather than maintaining that in the same table, what we will do is, person will be remain as separate entity, separate table, address will be remain as separate table, and we write an association table between person and address, right? Person underscore address, which has person associated person ID and association address ID. So I'll relate them 100 to 10. Person is 10, 100, 10, like this. Okay, like this we can associate one person with multiple addresses, one person with multiple addresses, okay, in an association table, in a additional association table. See, now person will be person, address will be like address, but there is another table which associates person and address. Which one do you think it is a better way? Either by using foreign key or association table? Will it be useful if you use a foreign key or association table? Or will it be better if you use a foreign key or an association table? I think, as per my knowledge, association tables are better. Just because person will be there with the person, address will be there with the address. Just for relation purpose, we are maintaining other table. Okay, just it will be in a better denormalized format. Normalized format means everything is at one place. Denormalized means we can split the data at one place and the relationship at another place. Okay, it is better denormalized. So I prefer to have a separate association table. Then if this is the requirement, if this is my requirement, then how I can achieve that in Hibernate? Okay, first let me change. We need not to change anything in application. We need not to change anything in the application. I'll use the same application. Okay, but what I do is I'll change the relation in the database side. Let me drop this column. This column is not required. Okay, let me add a new table, which is an association table. Address underscore person. Or let me make it person underscore address. Let me add a column. Person underscore address already exists. Where it is? Let me remove this. Okay. Okay. Let me add a new table. Person underscore address. Let me give it a column. Associated address ID, which is of type int or probably of number, and I'll add another column. Associated person ID, which is of type number, which is a primary key. The combination of address and person is a primary key. So that 10, 100 and 10, 100 should not exist twice. Understood? The same address should not be associated to the same person twice. So, is it a composite primary key in this table? Yes or no? It is a composite primary key. So that we are making it sure that one address should not be associated with the same person. An address should not be associated with the same person twice. So this should not happen. So to ensure that what we are doing is, we are making it a composite primary key. Okay? So, or even with, let me first try without a combination of primary key. No, we can do that. That's fine. Now a person address table is there where a composite primary key is there. Okay, on the combination of person and address. The composite primary key is there in the combination of person and address. The combination of person and address should not exist twice. In general, that will be the association. That will be the primary key on the association tables. For any association tables, the combination will be the primary key. In most of the association tables, 99% of the association tables, okay, the primary key will be a composite primary key, so that the same relation should not exist twice for two objects. Let's consider like there is a person ID with 10, address ID with 100. The same address should not be associated with the same person twice. To ensure that we use a composite primary key in the association tables. Okay, now there is association table, there is a main table, person and address. Let's see how we can associate them in the Hibernate side. On the Hibernate side, what we do is, in order to establish a one-to-many association with a joint table or with a temporary table or with the association table, we give the table name here. Table equal to, what is the table name? Person underscore address. Okay, and if you want to go for association table, we should go for a many-to-many association with unique equal to. A many-to-many association with unique equal to true will make that association as a one-to-many association. A many-to-many with unique equal to true will make it a one-to-many association. What is the columns? What are the columns associated? Associated person ID and associated address ID. Okay, understood? The key column is the column that represents the person. The column that represents the person in association table is associated person ID, and the column that represents the relation with address is associated. But these are the columns that exist in an external table, that is person underscore address. Understood? And this approach is said to be a joint table approach. Okay? Here, person underscore address is said to be a joint table. Okay? This approach of achieving a one-to-many association is a joint table approach. So we are using a intermediate table, or we are using that intermediate table is said to be a joint table, a table that joins multiple entities or multiple tables. A table that associates, or a intermediate table that associates or that joins multiple tables is said to be a joint table, or it is in general terminologies we call it as a association table, but in technical terminologies we call it as a joint table. Okay, now person underscore address is a joint table. Okay, which joins the person and the address. Now here in the set tag we should give the table name, and in the key column we should give the column name that represents the person. And in the association table, so in the association many-to-many association column, we should give the column that associates with the address. The column that associates with the address in the temporary table or the joint table is associated address ID. So we will give the same. Understood? Understood? Now let me save the person. Rather than fetching that, let me save it. Okay, I have saved the person. Now, what it is doing? First, person information is persisted, then address information is persisted, and then the association table will be inserted with the person and address information. Understood? This is how the joint tables or the association tables can be used. So, you see here, the association table has two records. Okay? The person ID is 2, and the address ID is 1 and 2. You see the person table? There are two records. Let me delete this record, this is not required right now. Address. Yes, there are two addresses. Okay, and there is one person with the ID 2. There is one with ID with the person, one ID with the one person record with the ID 2, and even in the association table, the person ID is 2, and the address IDs are paired or divided. Understood? This is how one-to-many association can be achieved using a joint table. Now, if I do the same thing and clear them, what it will do then? If I load the object and clear the address set, what it will do? What are the database operations performed now? Understood my question? What I am doing is I am loading the person with ID 2. There is a person record with ID 2, then there are associated address objects. Now I am clearing the address set. Then what are the database operations that are performed?
Associated table.
See, I am asking, what are the database interactions? What are the queries executed? See, there will be multiple queries executed. What are them? What are those queries? I am not asking only one. I am asking everything. What are all the database interactions, or what are all the queries executed here? If I just because of executing this, what are the queries executed? Object? Why do you get object not found exception? With 2. So what? What is the person ID? Clear method will? From where it will delete? From where it will delete? So you told the clear method will delete something from somewhere. What it will delete and from where it will delete? Or what are the tables affected here? Speak out. You told something, you got something, and speak out. Whatever it might be. If it is wrong, I will correct you. Speak out. What are the database interactions that will happen now? Or which records will be updated, which table will be updated, and which table the records will be deleted? Understood my point? See, this is the association. This is my association. And using this set, I am clearing the set from the person side. If I clear from the set from the person side, and if this is the association, what are the database interactions that will happen? Which table will be updated and which table will be deleted? Association? Table will be?
Association. Very clear and
from which table the association object will be, association column will be cleared? See, you told two things, two queries will be executed. The first query is for clearing the association column. The second query is to delete the associated records. That's what my question is. From where it will clear the associated columns? So, see, it will not clear the association. It will directly remove the records from the association. It will directly remove the records from the association. If you see here, if you execute this, okay, first it will remove the association. It will remove the association. It will delete the records from the association table. That's the first thing. The second thing is it will remove the records from the main address table. So first, from the association table it will remove the records. It will remove all the records from the person, for the specific person. From the association table all the records will be removed. And the next step is remove all the records from the address corresponding to that person. Corresponding records from the address will be removed, just because delete orphan is there. Delete orphan means, if you see here, all delete orphan is my cascade type. If the cascade type is all delete orphan, first the association will be broken and the child records also will be deleted. So how we can break the association means by removing those records from the association table. If we have an association table, then by removing those records from the association table, we can break the relation. Understood? And then the child object records will be removed or deleted. See, if there is an association column in the same table, how we can remove the association means by nullifying the association column. If it is a third party association table or if it is a joint table, how I can remove the association means just we will remove the record of the association. Understood? And then the child record from the address table also will be removed. Understood what happened? Understood? Understood? This is how the relation to relation associations will be changed. Okay? Now, let me go for the previous thing where I save the person information and the address information. Let me comment it. Let me delete the information from person and address. The association is not there. Address information is not there. Person information is there. Let me remove it. Okay, there is no record in person table, address table, and what we call association table. Okay, now what I am doing is I am saving the person. I am saving the person. Now there is a attribute named inverse. There is an attribute named inverse. By default it will be false. Let me make it true. The default value of inverse flag will be false. The default value of inverse flag is false. Let me make it true. Okay? Let me make it true. And let me make the cascade option as save update. Now the cascade option is save update and the inverse flag is true. Okay? Let me do the same thing. Let me do the same execution. I'm not changing anything in the relation. The relation is the same, but just I have changed the cascade option to save update and the inverse is true. If the cascade option is save update, then when the person is saved, is the address record saved? See, person has association with the address. Then when I save the person, will the address information persisted? Yes or no? Yes, just because a person has association with address, then the cascade is save update means even on the address side also the same database actions will happen. So now person is the person inserted? Is person inserted? Is his address inserted? Is person and address associated? Is person and address associated here? Yes or no? Yes or no? Is person and address associated? As per these queries, if you see these queries, person is inserted, that's fine. Address is inserted, that's fine. Are person and address associated here? No. Person and address now, these are not associated. The association record doesn't exist. Now, if I see here, let me comment it and let me uncomment it. Okay, I'm getting the size of the address set. Let me get the size of the address set. Two doesn't exist, so let me make it 1. Already we have deleted that. So, what are the number of addresses present for that person? 0. Okay. Now, let me remove this once again. I'll remove the person record. Let me make it once again. I'll remove the person record. I'll remove the address records. And once again I'll execute the save method. Once again I'll execute the save method. Once again I'll execute the save method. Okay? Now if I execute the save method, person is inserted, address is inserted, but the association between person and address doesn't exist. But let me remove these records once again. Let me remove the address records. Let me remove the person records. Now it is free. Let me execute this once again by changing the inverse flag. By default, inverse flag is false. If you don't keep anything, then inverse is false. Let me keep inverse as false. Okay. Is it inserting the records into person underscore address? Yes or no? Yes. So, let me remove them. Then what is the difference between inverse equal to true and inverse equal to false? Means if inverse equal to true, okay, then the association is maintained from the parent side. If inverse equal to true, the association is maintained from the side where we configure the association, or here it is a parent. So from where we are configuring the association? From person. Here in the person HBM file itself we have configured the association. That means person is the parent in the association. Okay? By default inverse equal to false. Inverse equal to false means the association should be maintained. The association should be maintained from the parent side. So it's a responsibility of the person to maintain the association. It's a responsibility of the person to maintain the association. So when the person is saved, even the association also will be saved. Okay? But if it is inverse equal to true means the association will be maintained from either side. The association will be maintained from either side. That means from the address side. So now person is never responsible for the association. When person is saved, the corresponding cascade options will be saved. Since it has a relation with the address also will be saved. But it's not the responsibility of person to establish a relation between the person and address. It's the responsibility of the address. Understood? How inverse and true and false will make the difference? Understood? That's what inverse will make the difference. In an association, okay, who should take the responsibility of that association will be specified by this inverse. If by default only the parent will take the responsibility of the association, so that whenever the parent is saved and it has associated child objects, whenever the parent is saved and it has associated child objects, the corresponding information will be persisted when we persist the parent itself. But if inverse equal to false means the either side, the address should take care of the association, not the person. So when address is saved, the association will be saved. But when person is saved, the association will not be saved. Understood? This is what inverse will make the difference. It's very important. Now, if cascade is equal to all and inverse equal to true, when I save the person, is the person information saved? Sorry, when I save the person, is the associated information saved? Yes or no? Cascade equal to all and inverse equal to true. In this case, will the association information persisted? No, the associated information will not be persisted. Let me remove the person record. Address record. Sorry, first let me remove the address. First let me remove the association first. Let me remove the association. Association is removed. Then let me remove the person. Person is removed, and let me remove the address. So now the tables are empty. There is no record. Now, if I cascade is equal to all and inverse equal to true, then what happens? If I save the person, person will be saved, address will be saved, but the association will not be. So, person is there, address is there, but the association is not there. Address is there, person is there, but there is no association between person and address. Just because inverse equal to true. Now let me remove the records again. Okay, and again let me execute the same with different option. False. Okay, now person is saved, address is saved, and association is also saved. Now you see here, person is saved, address is saved, and even the association also saved. Now let me remove the association and address and person once again. So I have removed everything. Now it is empty. Now let me make it as cascade. none and inverse equal to true. What happens? Inverse equal to false. Cascade is equal to none and inverse is false. Now, what are all the tables affected? Understood? I have made cascade equal to none and inverse equal to false. Then what are all the tables affected? In which tables the information will be populated? Just think it logically. Don't tell it directly person or directly address or person address and association. Just think it logically. What is inverse and what is cascade? I have made cascade as none, inverse as false. Then what are all the tables will be affected? If I save the person has two address objects associated, and if I save the person, how many records will be inserted into person, how many records will be inserted into address, how many records will be inserted into association? I'll give 2 minutes till the answer. Just analyze that and tell the answer. Just first have the knowledge what is inverse and what inverse will do, what is cascade and what cascade will do, what cascade none will do. Okay, and then tell the answer. Combine those things and tell the answer. If this is the case, and in this case, if there is a person with two address objects associated, and if that person object is saved, what happens? What are all the tables affected? Why exception will rise?
Cascade option. We are trying to save the parent object information in Hibernate. The associated object object Nancy.
So, transient state exception. Give a transient object exception. It's not a transient state exception. Give a transient object exception. Okay. Just now, what it is doing is trying to save the information in the person, and it's trying to save the information in the person's address. But what happens is we are using an address information that is not a persistent. But this is not a desirable combination. Cascade none and inverse false. It's not at all a desirable combination. Okay? If we put inverse equal to false, then there should be some cascade option to save the associated objects. Otherwise, the associated objects should have been already saved. So we cannot tell that whether inverse is false is good or inverse is true equal to good, or cascade none is good or cascade all is good. We cannot compare like that. We use the cascade and inverse option as per the business requirement. The business requirement is like, when we save person, corresponding address also should be saved, then we use cascade, save our object, or all based on the requirement. Okay? It's based on the business requirement we use cascade and inverse. We cannot tell which is good or which is bad. Okay? Understood? That's how it will be. There are several things that we need to discuss in associations. Still, there are two more associations: many to one. It will be almost the same like one to many, and many to many. Many to many also will be the same like one to many. Just the same thing we will use, except unique equal to true. We will remove that unique equal to true. Except that the remaining things will be the same for many to many relation. We'll discuss that. Okay? We'll discuss many to one relation and even many to many relation. Okay? And then we'll switch to which we can switch second level cache. Then we'll discuss second level cache. Okay? That will be our plan to do. We'll assemble as per our plan.